I really just, how does Pennsylvania do it? How does Jersey do it? That's what I would like the research to be done on.
Through like the working family party, through like organizations.
So how does the working family party get the money?
From
through
the community.
donors.
The donors, yeah. That's how
through donors.
People donate.
Okay.
Welcome to The Source with your host, Dr. C.T. Curry. And co-hosts, Coby Owens and Shané Darby. News all across the nation. The Source. Stay in the loop in the city of Delaware. Teamwork for a change in the community. A call to action to find the resources. The Source. Latest in news. Come on.
Good evening. This is Dr. Curry.
This is Coby Owens.
Shané Darby.
And welcome to The Source. I hope and trust that you all enjoyed last week when we did a tribute to the fathers. This week we're back in full effect. And to my enjoyment and pleasure and happiness, there is that I know of, shootings in the city for the last week, no murders in the city. So I'm very grateful to let that be a part of the conversation today. Hopefully that this is a new trajectory. However, we don't want it to be that it wasn't reported and it really did happen. But did you all hear about any shootings or murders that occurred during the last week or something?
No, I haven't heard anything.
Okay.
No, I didn't get that text message council people get.
Oh, well, we have different sources that we're able to look at to see it. I didn't see it, but sometimes we get a chance to. I do want to bring up though, there was a what do they call a news what do you call it when you pull everybody together and you have a news conference or a press conference about the budget, and I saw there were several of the city council members who had participated in that budget press conference, and one of the things that they were able to share that the taxes are pretty much going to stay the same, but the water will go up as scheduled to do so.
Yeah, I mean, with that, they had already passed the budget, right? And they held that press conference almost a month after passing the budget. If you're going to do something like that, you should probably do it around the time when you actually vote on the legislation. But even with that, I feel as though they probably wanted to do that because they felt as though certain members were attacked because the original price point of what they were going to raise the taxes for. Organizations like the Homes Campaign went out, talked to the community, canvassed the community, informed the community of the proposed tax level, asking them to come out and tell their council people not to vote for that, to bring it down lower. And that's exactly what happened. So again, I want to give hats off to the Homes Campaign for working hard, and a special shout out to my homie Cheyenne for all the work that she does.
Okay, good. But I did see some of the flyers, and when I saw that they did a press conference, I was trying to look to see if there was anything in the press conference that was different than what the reality was. It does look like they stuck to the speaking points and did stay there. But as you have indicated, it should have happened probably before the passage, so that if people were in disagreement, they could have gone to talk about it. I understand it. Were you ready to say something?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll leave that there. One thing I do want to announce to everybody that you heard me announce on the show that we were going to attempt to have a surrogate debate for the mayoral candidates, Mrs. Velda Powler, as well as Governor John Carney, and what we decided and discovered is that they are more than willing to do so. So we want you to mark your calendars for July 7th on the Coffee with Curry show. You're going to see a commercial in a few minutes behind this. On the Coffee with Curry show at 10 a.m. will be the live, as I would call it, mayoral candidate surrogate debate, and we have some specific questions that we want to ask and have them to defend or to present on those questions, and the two surrogates will be able to check the information that was given by the other person who decided to do it. We want to try something different. We want to try something new. Yes, I do want to say hats off to your organization who continues to do the debates where people come out. And I'm going to do the same thing with the governor's race, because I believe that if you can just sit and listen carefully, then you'll be prepared when you go to some of the forums. Any questions or anything about that?
No, I think it's a different spin on it, right? It's good to hear why other people are supporting their candidates. I look forward to seeing it and seeing some of the questions y'all come up with, and seeing how people answer it, right? What is the real reality? A lot of people have the gift of gab, right? But I know you as a moderator, you like asking the follow-up questions, and we'll get to the root of something. So I'm excited.
But one of the good things about
Are you not moderating?
I am moderating.
Oh, okay.
But one of the good things is the questions are going to be fundamentally simple.
Yeah.
But it's going to give people an opportunity to say, you know what, that person didn't even answer the question. I'm going to be very careful not to put a special spin on it for reasons, because I don't want to seem like I'm being partial to any particular group, but I am going to make sure that the other candidate hear the questions and that they can say, well, you didn't answer the question or whatever else. But it's going to play several times. People are going to see it, and y'all going to see it. And then when y'all get on this show, on y'all shows and various things that y'all do, and say, well, how come this wasn't answered? And we'll try to get answers to those. But I am going to try my best to see. This is our first time ever doing this, so we're going to see how it works. And if it works well, we're going to do it with some more races. And then when we find out, like in city council, if there's two people running against each other, we're going to see if at some point I'm gonna bring the candidates in, but for right now I just want the people who are outside who can really speak to their position. And I think I really got that idea from you, Sister Shané, because when you were talking about 2 weeks ago, I think it was, how you were able to, just like spit out several things wrong and right as it relates to the various candidates. I was saying, well, you know what, we probably need to hear from some of the lay people as opposed to just the candidate who sticks just to their talking points. So we're gonna see how it all turned out. Any comments or questions on that?
No, not at all.
Okay, well, we're looking forward to it. So it's going to be on the 7th of July at 11 a.m. Did I say 10 a.m.? I'm sorry, it's 11 a.m., the Coffee with Curry show. And it's going to re-air several times. We're probably going to use some of the time slot here for the source to continue to show it, because I want to make sure that you are getting the information and you are seeing the candidates and the seriousness of the candidates who are running for the mayor for the city of Wilmington. Last, but certainly I need to have one announcement real quick, and that's the announcement for the seniors. If you are in need of a fan and did not receive one last year, please check with the city. The city constituent services office is providing those citizens of our community in the Wilmington community, age 65 or older, free fans. Listen, if you don't have air conditioning, but you can have the window open and a fan, that will help you get through the storm and the scorchers that we are getting ready to go through. And we don't want anyone to be found without one. So please, I beg you to, if you don't have a fan, please get one. If you know of someone who doesn't have a fan, please make sure y'all get one for them. And you do have to have an ID and be a Wilmington resident. If there's nothing else in this one particular section, this was a quick section, but we got some other stuff that we want to talk about. But you know what, before I go, I do thank you, sir, very much, because I didn't even see it. Something happened this last week that kind of stunned me. And that was Eugene suspended his campaign. I thought it was going well, and it threw me off. Could y'all help me understand why he suspended his campaign?
Yeah, so I know specifically, Sarah McBride, Senator Sarah McBride has raised historically one of the most money a candidate has ever raised, I think, in the state of Delaware, right? So that is definitely like a factor in it. But I also know of other races throughout the country where a person has raised a lot of money and the other person didn't, and they still won, the person who did not raise as much money. So in that, I think it's really important to like the fundamentals of like running a campaign, like having an organized team, being able to do all of the things, and then like support from the community. Those things I think you really need when you don't have the funding, right? To be able to win. So if you at least don't have the funding, you need like a strong base and a strong team. So that's probably some of the reasons why I think Eugene kind of backed out of the race, but I know that he put his all into it. I know he quit his job, right, to do it. And, you know, like he has a family. He has like a wife and kids, right? So like I know he did that. So I know it was a hard decision to make. So yeah, really.
Yeah, you know, and I just heard Shané talk about when you don't have the money, you got to have the strong. Because I think in New York, that's what happened with Cortez. Is that her name?
Mm-hmm.
She didn't have much money.
You don't have to have much money.
But she had the strong ground game. I mean, who they knew would go through the city, putting this stuff out, making sure that the direction was right. Do you know a lot of his teammates or people who were on his campaign or who ran his campaign?
I know some of them, but not all of them. But the ones that I do know are very good at what they do. But again, it's different from running a state senate or a state house race. You're literally running up and down this state, all over the place. You need a ton of organizers, a ton of people working on field. And that's just hard. You have to pay people for their time as well, too. Those bills add up very quick.
Yeah, and I want to add, too, when you go to other states, people are like staffers for a living. Like, I am a campaign manager. I am a field director. I'm a finance person. Like, but we don't have that here in Delaware. We don't have strong staffers, especially strong Black staffers here in the state of Delaware to really help with running those level of campaigns and even running local. It's hard finding people just to run a city council race, right? So I think that's like another thing we have to think about, like sustainability and in regards to getting like new faces, Black faces, young faces into those type of positions. We're going to have to think about how do we build staffers, and they have to be paid.
Yeah.
Right. You can't, like the old school way, people need to get on here. Like that's dead. I'm sorry. Yeah. You have to pay people for their time. Inflation is real out here. Right. So, and when someone's a main person on your campaign, you have to pay them. And you have to have those like solid things. And Delaware just doesn't have that. So.
Yeah. And I noticed now, what I will say is that like I constantly got emails from his campaign encouraging to donate and contribute and things of that nature. So I thought that was going strong. But I agree, you got to have people. Now, I'm not too sure if you got to. I mean, I don't know whether whether his campaign manager was African American or not. But what has to happen is we have to make sure they are paid well, and we also got to make sure that the commitment is there. Is there a class that people go to in order to learn how to be an effective grounds person, effective? I mean, like the Holmes campaign, for example. They do all this training on how to be arrested and how to do this and how to do that. Do we have people in the state that we can do a training and then people come out and decide whoever they want to support to help them?
Yeah, I have the blueprint. Working Family Party has a Black staffer training campaign. I did the last few classes. Like there's a blueprint to do it, but that needs funding. You need committed people, and you have to be able to have money behind programs like that to teach people. So, and there's other classes and programs, but I don't think they're like other states, like at all. Like it's not comparable. And you really need someone who's dedicated to like, I want to train staffers. Like that is like my thing. Like I want to build staffers in the state of Delaware, but you have to have the capacity. And then it's sad because it'd be the same people. Like, and I'm over it. It's the same exact people taking these classes. It's just recycling.
But how do we get more people going? You agree to say something?
Yeah, so in other states, in Pennsylvania, there's an election every 6 months. So that's why you get this culture of the professional campaigner. Same thing in New York. Because they have so many different races on so many different levels, people can make a sustainable lifestyle off of being professional campaigners. Unfortunately, in Delaware, we don't have that. Outside of our state primary and state general election, the other races are for nonpartisan seats, and a lot of them don't even pay the person who's running for the seat, right, if they get elected, or it's very low. So again, the money raised for these races aren't enough to either pay. There is barely enough to pay for the campaign supply. So it does not create a sustainable system here for that, unfortunately.
Yeah, and what I was going to say was, but see, one of the things that I noticed when I first came to Delaware to be a pastor here at East Zion is that everything was about relationships. And what I'm hearing you say, Shané, is you can keep the relationships, but you gotta pay people to be professional, because now with all these New Yorkers, with all these Pennsylvanians, all these New Jersey people coming into the state, whether it be Middletown and other places, it's becoming almost like those states, and they are used to certain things, and they don't have the same relationship. Oh, that was my cousin, so vote for my cousin who was a part of this, or that was my little brother. We went to school together. Those days are pretty much over now. So we really do have to begin to become more strategic in how we are running race, but paying people to do it is very important. What about the Democratic Party? What about the Republican Party? What efforts are they making to change with what is going on in our
So it's on the candidates. They should be hired.
for the training, because candidates should be able to say, okay, here's a pool of people that are available to be a manager, to be this, to be that, because they have been trained and certified. Is that kind of how they do it?
Yeah, so
okay. So,
I get what you're saying. I don't think it's me. I'm not a party person. I'm good on the Democratic and Republican Party, right? But I think organizations like Network Delaware, the Working Family Party, they should have those trainings where they're not committed to a specific
I got what you're saying.
party or anything like that. So I think those trainings should come from there. But I also believe in doing that work, you have to find the funding to do it, right? So there has to be money put behind it.
But that's a state thing. So I was thinking that more the governor would probably be.
No, because they can't use state funds for electioneering. So that's
for electioneering. Well, but I think if we go, but I think if we, and I don't know, I'm not saying I know that I'm not the authority in this area, but let's say if we say to the state representatives in the Senate that, look, we need a fund, nonpartisan, to train so that we can be up to date with how to do A, B, C, and D, to run election things. Why would that be a problem?
Because it creates conflict, right? So now, let's say state senator is putting money into this and then wants someone from that program to work on their campaign. Now they've just used state funds for their own re-election.
No. I'm saying, no,
I know what you're saying.
It's a law that says now we have we got the Department of Elections. Okay, that's really where I think it should be housed. And in the Department of Election, we are funding you more money now, because what we need you to do is not only make sure the polls is right and the integrity of the election is right, but also that the training for whatever is there.
So the Department of Elections does do trainings for anyone who's serving as a treasurer of a campaign on how to fill out campaign finance, how to be in compliance with campaign finance. Outside of that, they don't touch anything else, because everyone else has their own strategies, and they can't say what strategies are best and what strategies aren't, right? And that's why organizations who are nonpartisan, nonprofits, can do the trainings, but then also rely on that unrestricted dollar to pay for those, right? So there are individuals in this state who have deep pockets, right? Okay. Who want to see change, who want to be able to help, so they can donate to organizations like that to help pay to host the trainings and stuff like that up and down the state. But unfortunately, with state dollars, it gets into like a muddy situation.
I agree that you shouldn't have a specific senator or a specific representative giving money to a certain thing. But I think if it become a statewide thing, because when you got deep pockets, that means you're running it. And if you don't like the way certain things go, you defund. I really how does Pennsylvania do it? How does Jersey do it? That's what I would like the research to be done on.
Through like the Working Family Party, through like organizations.
So how does the Working Family Party get the money?
From the community.
Donors.
Donors, that's how
through donors.
People donate. We don't have
it's
that
their
base
unrestricted. It's that unrestricted dollar that comes into those organizations.
Because they might have like a 501c3, 501(c)(4) type thing, so they'll get grants to do that type of work. So they'll get grants, they'll get donations to do that.
Well, I think in general we have to look at it. We're out of time this time, but I want to just I'll leave it there, and we'll be right back.
Tune in at 8 a.m. every Sunday for our worship services. Join us at 9 a.m. on YouTube and Facebook Live by typing Zion Fair Baptist Church. We are Wilmington's most exciting church.
new guests, new conversations. Every Sunday at 11 a.m. So grab your cup of coffee and tune in with Dr. Curry for weekly episodes of Coffee with Curry.
Until the next time we get together, may the Lord God bless you real good. And we're back. Well, let's see what's going on with Shané's scoop.
Yeah, so I wanted to talk about a piece of legislation that was in the last Public Safety Committee. So I serve on the Public Safety Committee. We had one ordinance and a presentation a few weeks ago, and one of the ordinances was about it was a noise ordinance. So when I first read it, I was like, oh, okay, a noise ordinance, all right, whatever. I didn't think much about it. But the sponsor, Nathan Field, reached out to me. He called me and said, Shané, I would love to speak to you about my piece of legislation. When he called me, he told me that this was targeting protesters who were going to Senator Coons and Senator Carper's house for protesting for the Palestinian, the genocide that is happening. They want Senator Coons and Senator Carper not to, basically not to stop funding and to cease fires. So they've been out there protesting. So Nathan wanted to stop the protesters from being loud. So they should stand there and be quiet and whisper when they do protest. So that's what he wants. He wants to know it. And then he also suggested that they just go to the elected officials' house. Not house, their office. Like, they should not be able to go to elected officials' house and protest. I am against that, right? I do not believe that we should restrict the way people protest or restrict where people protest, right? And I do understand that for neighbors, that could be, noisy.
But that
for a lot
comes
of
with
them.
the fact that you got a politician.
Yeah, that comes with the fact that you have
Yeah.
a politician, right, living next to you. So there's been a lot of complaints for that. So Nathan Field wanted to take a few block radius problem and apply it to the whole city, that protesters can't make noise, right?
So does that make sense?
It's a violation of your First Amendment right.
Right. I mean, that's why I said, does it make sense? Because that's what I'm thinking right now. I mean, now, are you allowed to, let's say, cuss the senator out while screaming at him? I'm trying to understand.
As long as you don't make a threat of bodily harm and stuff like that, you can pretty much say whatever.
So if it's defund, that would be appropriate.
Yeah, defund the police.
Okay.
That's not violent.
I didn't say that. You said I want to keep the police funded. But the question is, the question I'm trying to ask is, so you really did not pay this legislation no mind until you got the phone call?
Yes. That's the crazy. I said, Nathan, you set yourself up for this, right?
I'm listening
So when
to you.
he called me and told me that, I said, so instead of you, with your privilege and your power, instead of working with Senator Coons so he can stop funding the genocide and sign a ceasefire, you go after the protesters. I said, that's wrong and not the right way to do this. I said, there's other ways of doing this, and it's wrong. And I told him, I need you to stand on business because I'm about to call all the protesters.
Oh, gee.
I need you to stand on business, okay?
This is Nathan Fields?
This is Nathan Fields.
Okay.
So we went to the public safety meeting, and this was literally day of.
Okay.
So I was like, gosh, I got meetings. I'm like, let me hurry up and text as many people as I can. Let me call ACLU. Let me call the people I need to call to let them know that this ordinance is tonight and it's targeted to protesters. When I read the legislation, I didn't even think of protesters. Like, that didn't even come to my mind when I thought of it. So he should have left it alone. It would have passed, with no problem. But what was so disappointing in that public safety meeting, there are 7 of us on that public safety meeting. The only people to vote no was, of course, Trippy and I. President Congo said no to it. Al Mills said yes to it. He voted it out. Jane Spadola said yes to it. And Councilmember McCoy said yes to it. So usually, since it's 7 people, you would need 4 votes for it to come out. But since Councilmember Oliver and Councilmember Chris Johnson didn't show up, they just needed 3.
So who was the 3?
Councilmember McCoy, said yes to take it out.
Oh, so it did go out.
It did.
Oh, okay.
It's disappointing that it even went out.
Okay.
And it's even more disappointing for me that we're a majority black city council and we're allowing stuff to even like this to get out of committee. It's embarrassing.
Okay.
And it's even more embarrassing. Councilmember McCoy said yes. James Fadola, whatever, he said yes. I knew he was going to say yes. And then, of course, I know Councilmember Al Mills was going to say yes. Right? I know he was. So those three people got that out of committee. So then, once I found out it was June 20th, in that one meeting, in less than 24 hours, on the Zoom call, there was over 50 people.
Oh, okay.
Right? So Councilmember McCoy stopped public comment early and said she had to go pick up her son, so she stopped in public comment. Right? So those are the things where it's just like the lack of transparency, the lack of like we talk about people coming to participate in city council, and when they do, you limit public comment because you got to go pick up your child. Right? I'm the biggest single mom on city council. I have 3 kids. When I know I have a committee meeting, I make arrangements. Okay? I make arrangements for those things.
Well, maybe wasn't expecting it to go that long.
Oh, no, she knew it was because I prepared them.
Oh.
I emailed everybody and told them all stand on business tonight because the protesters would be there.
Oh.
Okay? All of them. I told them in the eve. I didn't make it a secret.
So they don't have to think about what you're doing.
They didn't have to think about in that moment. They didn't have. I wanted them to know that people were coming. So she wasn't shocked that people were going to be there tonight.
And people showed up.
And people showed up. Public comment after public comment, but she ended up closing it because she said she needed to go pick up her child.
Did they pass it?
They passed it out of committee. So now it's supposed to be on city council tonight. So by the time this airs, it's supposed to be on here. I got a call last night that Nathan Fields decided to hold his legislation. And I said, so basically he's not going to present it tonight. And I asked why. They said he doesn't have the votes. And I was like, okay, so what's about to happen? So it was like Councilmember Chris Johnson wants to put out a press release tonight that he is opposing the bill and he's so glad that Nathan Field is holding the legislation. Mind you, Chris Johnson I didn't even know it was happening. Like he didn't reach out to me. He doesn't, like, not saying he has to, but he didn't even reach out to the person who even started the whole thing, right? So he put out a press release and there's at least 7 names. And what's so shocking is Councilmember McCoy is on there all of a sudden. So she's flip-floppy.
You're not supposed to use talk bad about your council people.
Man, she put peer pressure on them. They flip-floppy. So she flipped.
Okay, she flipped.
And then Councilmember Brigida Fields, she was a co-sponsor on the legislation. And now all of a sudden she's on the email. Saying that she's against the legislation.
Maybe it could have been they were just like you, didn't really pay it that much attention, and then until it became light. Because
McCoy was. I can argue that for Brigida, but not McCoy.
Okay.
She's the chair of the public safety meeting.
Okay.
She got the emails and she heard all of the conversations before she decided to vote yes. So she should have stood on business.
Okay. All right. That I can't argue. I can argue about a lot of stuff, but I can't argue about that.
Yeah, but maybe Brigida. I can give it to Brigida because she wasn't at the meeting. Maybe she didn't know, like, oh, it's a noise ordinance. Like, she didn't think about it.
I mean, if you think about it, sometimes you do wish we had a noise ordinance.
Noise ordinance exists.
There is one for the city of Wilmington.
That would have raised my flag right there.
There's one that exists already.
All right, so
but we've had this issue here in the city of Wilmington, especially where when it comes to protesters, right? This city has infringed on their right to protest here. We saw it in 2020 when they arrested a young 14-year-old kid who was just trying to walk up Market Street. Why? Because this mayor's administration said that protesters could not go on Market Street, but only certain parts of Market Street. Not all of Market Street, but only the parts that are earned by a certain developer. Right, is where they put all their police resources at. And this was weeks after the major protests the 3 major protests that had happened in the city of Wilmington. Protesters who were on the sidewalk still couldn't go up the street. This ordinance, right, and what's going on. One, when you sign up to run for office, and I want elected officials to remember this, you become a public official.
Right.
That means anything you do is public, which means you can be targeted at your house. That is why on campaign reports, you have to pick where you live so the public can know where you live.
Some people don't use their address.
I know. Some people use the city council office. Some people use
but how could you run for a
rental
district?
properties.
How could you use? You can't be a part of a district. Now I can understand with like if you're a statewide, but when you come out to like if you're running for the 2nd district, 3rd district, or whatever, you can't put the city council building because that's not in that district.
No,
correct.
They can. They have.
Well, that's it.
You're not supposed to.
So that needs to be called out.
Yep.
You're not supposed to.
And some have 2 houses in the same district, and they're just using the one.
Okay, well, I can't argue. That's called, being able to use the system.
Do you use the one you live in, or do you use the one you rent out?
Either or, you want them. Whichever one you own, I guess. That's what, I'm not the authority.
You're supposed to use
the one you live in. You're supposed to use the one you reside.
Whatever is your primary residence.
Okay.
That is what the law states.
And if it says primary residence, that's where you live. Okay. Mine is 1400 B Street.
And you declare that when you file your taxes
I'm
and everything.
off of 1400 B Street.
But yes, that's the law clearly states that it's your primary residence you're supposed to use, right? And we've seen challenges in the past to residency, whether someone lived in their district or not, for the qualified amount of time for them to run for office. We saw it just recently as 2022 in RD 18. There was a challenge to Sophie Phillips. And it was deemed that she did live in the district long enough, right? So again, it can be challenged, but someone has to bring that suit.
Okay, all right. Well, that's interesting. And I'm very grateful that you brought that to the front, because I'm of the opinion that there is no noise ordinance. Say the word. Ordinance here in the city of Wilmington. But if there is,
one exists already.
So why are we doing a new one? Because we want to make sure that people are protected. I got you. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back.
Hello, I'm Marcus Henry, and I'm running for Newcastle County Executive. I spent over 20 years working in state and local government, trying to bring the good programs and services you deserve here in Newcastle County. Please support my campaign. Please look us up at marcushenryde.com for further information. I look forward to meeting you all over the next year, and I look forward to your support. Thank you.
Prepare for an electrifying event that will shape Delaware's future. On July 7th at 11 a.m., E. Zion Fair Baptist Church becomes the battleground for the political surrogate debate. Witness the clash of minds as representatives from leading campaigns face off, revealing insight and secrets that could sway the course of our state. In a time when every decision counts, be there to uncover the truths and make your voice heard. Mark your calendar for July 7th at 11 a.m. The stakes are high, and the future is in your hands.
And we're back. Brother Coby, what's going on with the Coby's Corner?
Yeah, so one, I want to start off talking about an effort being led down in Dover that I've seen grow, take many different iterations, but eliminating the death penalty here in Delaware. It was ruled unconstitutional. It's immoral. Punishing someone with death for something else is just not it's not the right answer, right?
Unless you hurt one of Shané's children, then it's the right answer.
The state should not be doing it.
I understand.
I
read between the lines there.
HB 70, HB 70 passed the Delaware State House, and that again is a bill to abolish the death penalty here in Delaware. It was sponsored by State Representative Sherry Dorsey Walker, and I want to point out it passed with 33 yes votes. Both Democrats and Republicans came together to vote for this. This is a huge change from years prior, where it's been on party lines. But even with party lines, you had a lot of Democrats who were military or state police or some type of police who would break and vote no. You had some of them who were still down there, the Pete Swarthkoff, the Bill Carson, who's a former fire chief, who broke and voted no. There was 8 no's, but 33 out of the 41 voted yes for this. That is huge, and it now goes over to the Senate. It passed earlier this week. And again, I think the Senate is going to pass this pretty quick. The prime in the Senate is State Senator Coby Owens, who is the chair of the Senate Judiciary, who is going to go to it. After it goes to her committee, it'll be on the floor. But I just want to commend both Sherry and Kyle for a second. These are two amazing legislators who are doing great things for this state. I wish it wasn't true, but it is. Those two are running against each other for lieutenant governor. Sherry's coming from the House side, Kyle's coming from the Senate side, and they're both running for lieutenant governor this year. But I think it is huge for you to put aside your differences and get such a impactful bill done for the state and for so many, because we know not only in Delaware, but all across this nation, it is disproportionately applied to African Americans, to Latinos, to minorities. And it's not based on truly if you're guilty or not. It's based on, do you have the money to fight it or not?
Yeah, right. We see the Trump case.
We've seen in recent years in Arkansas, Alabama, Mississippi, South Carolina, Wisconsin, Texas, cases of clear negligence with the case, details coming out, update to DNA mapping and stuff like that, showing and proving that people were innocent, even though they sat on death row and they were still put to death. So this is huge. And I wanted to take a second just to thank these two for not playing political politics with such a major bill.
Well, you know, I'm always going to have a question. Now, when was this bill first started about the two of those? Who started this bill?
So it started in the House. Sherry started it.
Okay, stop there.
Mm-hmm.
That's good enough for me. I'm voting for Sherry. Go ahead. Now go back to your next point.
And then there's a second follow-up bill, 301, which is a constitutional amendment, right? HB 301, which is a constitutional amendment to ban the death penalty so it can never come back again. That it has to pass this leg, right? And then when the new iteration, the 153rd comes in, it has to pass that as well too. For that, again, the prime sponsor is a House bill, is Representative Sherry Dorsey Walker. It's her bill. And the Senate sponsor on that is Senator Kara Hoffner from the Smyrna area, the 14th district. So again, I believe at the time of this filming, that has not been put on the agenda quite yet. I think my understanding is they were waiting to see if they had the votes for HB 70 to see if they had the votes in the House for HB 301, because you need two. If you have, you need a 2/3 majority in order to pass a constitutional amendment. And clearly, with 33 votes, you would only need 27. Right. With 33 votes, you clearly have that number. Right. So I predict that it will be on the agenda. If it's not added later today, it will be on it early next week.
Understood.
Next, I want to talk about the Delaware City Refinery. Anyone who knows me knows I've been very vocal about the refinery, about Crota, about how they pollute minority communities, whether it's air quality, whether it's our water quality. They allow for these refineries and corporations to come in and build these mass polluters in minority communities, right? And keep giving them permits and waivers and stuff like that. The Delaware City Refinery back in May spilled about 1,000 gallons of crude oil into the wetlands surrounding the Delaware River. That is extremely dangerous. And that is just one of the facility's 7 permit violations this year. We are only in June. They're averaging a little over 1 per month.
But if you got all those violations, how come they have not been shut down? How come there's not?
Nothing's been done.
Who was in charge of that?
That's DNRAC.
So the Secretary of DNRAC and the governor. Tell me, somebody needs to be able to account for this.
Nothing has been done as of this moment right now. Nothing has been done, and they've known for a few weeks now. Nothing has been done, and DNRAC, I'm sorry, y'all, is the Delaware Department of Natural Resources and Environmental Control. What's that last part? Environmental Control.
Yeah.
But they are not doing what they're supposed to do.
So the person, really quick, the person who controls that department or has say is the governor, Governor Carney.
It's a cabinet secretary.
I don't want to make sure that, and he wants to run for the city of Wilmington.
Yes.
Okay, I was just trying to clarify. I'm just trying to,
Now, while the refinery officials are saying, oh, it has minimum impact. Mm-hmm. Well, if this keeps adding up, it has some major impact. Mm-hmm. And minimum impact to who? Because they get to go back to their little mini mansions in Hocassin and PA and on the main line and everything. But the people who live there don't.
Isn't that Bear area?
The refinery is Bear area. Delaware City, Bear.
Because the pastor of Zion Fair live in Bear area. So I'm glad you're bringing this to my attention, because I don't know what you use the word minority, and it's more than the minorities there, and there's a couple people got a couple dollars there, and I'm really shocked that this has not even become public. Mm-hmm. I'm hearing it on the source for the first time, and I don't like that.
Well, here's the thing. So the refinery is owned by PBF Energy, right? Okay. It's actually one of the biggest refineries on the entire East Coast, right? Polluting our air, right? In a 5-mile radius, listen to this, 86,000 people live in that 5-mile radius.
Okay. The pastor of Zion Fair is one of them.
Back in September of 2018, I don't know if you remember the fire that happened at the refinery.
I do.
It was one of the most eerie things, because I didn't know what was going on. We were coming back from the beach. We actually had a training with Network Delaware down at the beach. And we're coming back, and it looked like rain, so we had our windshield wipers on, but then it was soot. So as we were trying to wipe it off, no one could see, like everyone was out their cars and everything. We didn't know what was going on. We thought it was like black rain or something. It wasn't until later in the day that we found out it was a fire at the refinery, but we were over 10 miles away. We couldn't even see the fire. So again, this is this refinery, right, owned by BPF Energy, right, is historically known to be one of Delaware's biggest polluters. So again, this is huge, and hopefully we can hold them accountable, stop giving them permits and waivers to expand, and honestly, hopefully shut them down soon, because this is insane. But that's all I had on that. I just wanted to bring that to people's attention.
I'm aware of that now, so I'm listening to you, but I'm feeling in my head now who I'm going to be calling very, very shortly. Mm-hmm. Again, we have a lot of different plants in our area, especially in the Wilmington area. Yeah. You have the Delaware City Philly pipeline. You have the DuPont and Croda plants. You have the BPF Delaware City Refinery. You have the Salem County nuclear facility right across the bridge, right? We have all these in a huge radius of the city of Wilmington, and it's all polluting into our air and our water. But yet they keep saying it's minimum, but yet we keep having more and more health issues. Yeah. We have a very high rate of asthma, of cancer in our communities, right? As someone who I was diagnosed with severe asthma when I was 2, right? And I still deal with the effects of that, right? I'll never forget the first time I came back home from West Virginia, being up in the mountains. I could feel how heavy and dirty our area is compared to being up in the mountains with fresh air and stuff like that. And it actually back to West Virginia.
it hit me down for a little bit. Like I literally had to lay down. I had headaches constantly. It took me coming back a few times before I got used to it again.
Wow.
But next on my agenda, I wanted to talk about a few upcoming protests. There's 2 coming up this week. On June 24th, there's a women's strike that's going on that's going to be taking place at HB DuPont Plaza, which is across from the PNC Bank Theater and all that area over there. That is in response to the overturning of Roe versus Wade, and the overreaching attacks on reproductive rights that we're seeing not only in Delaware, but all across this nation right now. We have made some good strides in Delaware to create more access. But again, affordability is also an issue. HB 110 just passed, and that creates more opportunity for access for reproductive health. And then on June 27th, in front of the City County building, there's going to be a rally for housing. For affordable housing, led by the Homes Campaign.
Now we need more BPGs. We need more BPG, high-end apartments.
So please come out to that. Homes has been the #1 organizing organization when it comes to fighting for affordable housing, both in the city of Wilmington and on a state level. I work with Homes quite often, more on the state level for some of those priorities. But again, Homes is doing the amazing work. Like I said earlier in the show, Cheyenne is one of the most brilliant minds that we have here in the state of Delaware. Regardless of what some of y'all elected officials say.
Well, if they're saying something different, then you know that it's the opposite. So we are fine with that.
Since they like putting out narratives about people. But Cheyenne and the team are doing great work. And we want to make sure that we show up and support them because they're fighting for you, right? They're fighting to make sure people stay in their houses, whether they're renters or owners. They're fighting to make sure that you're not drowning in water bill debt. They're making sure that you're not facing predatory landlords alone in a courtroom. So again, there's a lot of work still left to be done. Don't, people want to pass, we made a raffle for $10,000 for down payment assistance, something that Linda Gray, the late Linda Gray, passed, but certain members of council really didn't care about and didn't ask the administration to actually do something about it until they got pressured, right? So again, that pressure came from the Homes Campaign. So we want to make sure we keep that up and keep supporting the work. It's a very open organization. Individuals, if you want to learn how to organize, you want to learn how to mobilize and learn how to make your voice heard, I encourage you to get involved with the Homes Campaign. They have an action network that you can sign up and then do an intake.
They have an office right here, am I right? And Carrie Ann,
yes,
she's in charge of that office, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I need to communicate with her because maybe I should bring her on a coffee with Curry and talk about the protest that's coming
Absolutely.
All right.
And then lastly, in my final minute, I just want to say I had a great time this past weekend celebrating Juneteenth. The Juneteenth parade is something that has been going on for a very long time. I remember going out to it in my younger days, and now to be a part of it, to be in it is always fun. They celebrated their 30th year of doing this. It's 1 year older than me. Yeah. But again, it was a good time. It was a lot of people. It was great music. Just a lot of opportunity to be in space with people who look like us, hear music for our culture. And of course, the food was amazing as well, too. But there were celebrations up and down the entire state. But there was a few pictures that I wanted to share while I talked about this. So we'll put them up on the screen. But again, overall, I had an amazing Juneteenth weekend. Again, Juneteenth was actually Wednesday, but again, a lot of the celebration took place during the weekend.
Yeah, well, the staff was gone that day, yesterday on June 19th, and it was a really good day for us as well. I kind of agree that it's becoming more commercialized, but I want to remind everybody to please remember the purpose behind why we celebrate June 10th, because it's going to be important that you continue to share with your children the legacy that has been left behind and the history that has been left behind. All right, well, we're going to take a quick commercial break and I'm going to come back. I got a question for you all. I'm the pastor of the East Zion Fair Church, and I was shouting when I heard Louisiana, they decided to put the 10 Commandments in the schoolroom and universities too. We'll be right back. And we're back. Well, at the break, I shared that the State House in Louisiana passed legislation. The governor signed it with all the pride in the world. And I know all the church folks are happy that now we're finally going to put the 10 Commandments back into the school in Louisiana, not here in Delaware. But the 10 Commandments, thou shalt not, thou shalt not, thou shalt not, thou shalt not. There's a lot of, some of them I can't remember off the top of my head. But since it's a national conversation, I wanted to know, what are we feeling? What are we thinking? That's great. Will that cause all the moral decay to stop? Help me.
No, it won't.
It won't.
And I think it's infringing on other people's right to practice a religion or not to practice a religion. So I don't think schools, especially if it's funded by public dollars, should have any type of influence on religion. I think morality can be taught, but it doesn't have to be taught through a religion. I think some very basic things, like to kill somebody, isn't a religious thing. Right. It's like, I just shouldn't kill you, right? I shouldn't just do something to you right now.
Unless you do something to your children.
Unless you do something to my kids. That's different. But I shouldn't for no reason just come up to you and hit you. Like that's just like, that's not connected to religion for me. That's just like being a good person. Like walking in my eye, as they call it. So it's like, for me, I just think it's wrong. I don't think it should happen. I think we're going down the wrong, with Roe versus Wade overturned, controlling women's bodies. Now we're trying to put religion back in schools. Religion and state are supposed to be separate.
Well, we were founded on In God We Trust. So this, America is a Christian nation, isn't it?
No.
Okay. Let's see what you got to say.
One, we were not found, right?
Oh, we were not found.
Discovered.
Oh, wow.
There was people here already.
All right. Okay.
Who had their own way of life, who had their own religion, who had their own culture. And it was crazy that we even celebrated Christopher Columbus discovering people here, right? It's crazy. You can't discover something where people are already living, growing food, have a sustainable lifestyle, right? But again, I'm not even going to touch too much on that. I want to talk about this bill, right?
Okay.
This bill in Louisiana one states that, you have to display this as large, easily readable font in all public classrooms that is in state-funded universities, right? Or
receive state dollars.
Right, or receive state dollars. But the interesting part of this is so that they don't get sued, right? They're not using state dollars for the signs. Now, all these schools have to go out and get donations. That's what it says. You have to, the money for the posters come through donations. But it gets even...
That's in the legislation?
It gets even more interesting because they have the 10 Commandments. And again, I'm a Christian, but they have the 10 Commandments are a fundamental document of our state and national government. But that is a fundamental document of our state and national government. In the same bill, so that's why it has to be displayed. In the same bill, it says it authorizes but does not require the display of these items in K-12 public schools.
It's in the bill?
This is in the bill, the Mayflower Compact. I would think that has something to do with the current formation of America, right? America's first constitution. I would think that is a fundamental document to the current iteration of America. The Declaration of Independence. I would think it's a fundamental document. But again, they're stating that the only fundamental government document for both state and this national federal level is the 10 Commandments.
Yeah. Well, I told you we were founded on the God we trust.
At your school, you could do that.
At my school.
Yeah.
And you could say at my church. Okay. We don't have the 10 Commandments displayed at our church. I apologize for that because we're New Testament Christians.
Y'all need to get up. Y'all need to do the right thing.
I just believe the same thing the caucus is doing in Florida. This is what my concern is. For those of you who got excited about, praise the Lord, they're going to put the 10 Commandments up. But why is it illegal to teach Black children about their heritage? Why, if we can be this strong on a document that really, for those I hear talking are Christians, we don't even live by that document. We're not saying the 10 Commandments are not real, but we're Christ followers. Christians, the definition through the Greek Christos means Christ-like beings. He came because couldn't nobody follow it. Couldn't nobody keep up with it because it was just so much to it. So I am just saying, I just think that when you start going down that rabbit hole, it's going to be other stuff. But there's a term, and y'all can help me. It's called white nationalism. I just think some stuff is creeping to become something bigger than what we really want. And we have to be careful with it.
Well, I think people have to understand their history, right? Now, the Christian faith is found on the belief that Jesus was the Messiah.
Okay.
Am I wrong?
That's so far? You good.
Okay. What was Jesus?
Okay.
Right? Jesus was a Palestinian Jew, right?
According to his mother ethnicity, yes.
Right. So again, people have all different backgrounds.
Absolutely.
Right? We should be respecting everyone's background.
Oh, I'm not going to argue that.
I know you're not.
Especially since we say we are a democracy,
right.
Although I question that a lot too. But if you come to America and we're the melting pot, there's a lot of arguments I can give against doing this. I just went directly at it.
No, I know.
But I know you're doing the same thing. But no, I agree. I'm not interested in me telling you. Jesus said, "Whosoever will, let them." So if you don't want to be a Christian, it's all right.
And again, I'm not the pastor here. I believe in church. I could go more. But correct me if I'm wrong. Is one of the commandments still love thy neighbor?
As you love yourself, yeah.
As you love yourself.
Yeah. So that means whatever you won't do to you, you should never do to someone else.
Right, and you wouldn't want someone to take your religion away from you or force their religion onto you.
That's just a basic
You philosophers,
well,
but yes.
Let me take the religion out of it.
It's just basic.
Yeah.
Let's talk about constitutional right.
Okay.
Because everyone loves the Second Amendment down there, right?
Yeah, especially down there.
Let's talk about the first.
Okay. Oh.
You have a right in America
According to that amendment, go ahead. Constitution.
to practice your religion, right? Of your choice.
Of your choice, yes.
Which means Christian, Jewish, Muslim, Hindu,
Atheism.
Buddhist, atheist, whatever you choose or deem is right for you.
And your rights end when
For
they begin to
public
infringe on the
dollars.
rights of others. Right. Well, no. But our Constitution does say that, and he's absolutely correct. I don't think that we should ever get to a place where we're telling people what religion they must participate in. Because when we get there, then we don't know what will be the religion that is going to be prescribed. So we should follow the Constitution. I love the First Amendment, where I have a right to be a Christian. I have a right to be a Muslim. I have a right to be an atheist. I have a right to be none of it. I just have a right to, and I was taught in my little HBCU I went to, your rights end when they begin to infringe on the rights of others. So don't tell me how I'm supposed to live. You just do what you call yourself how you're supposed to live. And if one of those commandments is do unto others as you would have them do unto yourself, then that's what you should be practicing.
And I think if it hasn't been announced already, I guarantee you civil rights groups are probably going to be suing, right?
But they're going to probably lose because look at the Supreme Court and look at the courts down there in Louisiana.
The only hope that I have is for the individuals who are on the Supreme Court, who are the conservative members in the original list and thinking that that original Constitution is how we should stick to. It is very clearly stated in the First Amendment right that you have religious freedom in America. And it has been common practice to not use state dollars where this is infringed on in public schools, right? So again, I hope that they put aside their personal beliefs and uphold this persona of originalism that they have come up with over the last few years and last few cases, and uphold the First Amendment right. Because if they don't, you're going to see a lot of things erode very quick.
Yeah, well, the one thing I learned about the Supreme Court is that they don't really care. It is what it is, and that's why elections matter, and that's why you need to pay attention, because Donald Trump was able to put 3 people on that court. You already had 2 crazy ones on there. They always so the 2 crazies you already had on there are just now aligned with those pure constitutionalist folks, and now it's just out of control. And I'm waiting to see whether or not Donald Trump will be able to receive his immunity. If that comes out that way, I'm just going to be praying harder.
I think
it's an outward thread.
I think it's the first week of July. They're supposed to make their decision.
Well, between now and then, they have an open case. They have an open day today as we're recording this show. Listen, the show have been very good and timely, and we appreciate y'all so very much. I want to remind you again. You'll see the commercial from time to time on July 7th at 11 a.m. The surrogates debate. It's going to be live. It's going to be popping. It's going to be on. I'm not going to announce who the surrogates are. are until you see them appear. I'm really looking forward to this. This is going to be a good model to see whether or not this is something that we can do in order to continue to get more information from our candidates. And if we need more from this particular show, we will definitely make sure that happens. Look, this is Dr. Curry.
This is Coby Owens.
Shané Darby.
See ya.
Take care, y'all.
Talk soon.